Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Bombers Blitz on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown, and I'm coming to you live in what looks like, I don't think we're quite 4K. 1080p is going to have to do. I'll have to talk to Mo and where our 4K went. I know we had it at one point. I want to welcome everybody to the show tonight. This is going to be a slow burn. I hope everybody is sort of prepared for that. I've got a couple articles that I wanted to bring up, and you never know how I'm going to do these shows on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But this one sort of named itself after yesterday because of everything that happened at the SEC Media Days. And I don't think I need to necessarily tell everybody what each one of those details are, but we are going to try to get through as many of the details in the Ross Dellinger article, and I'll post the link for it. We always share everybody's information. Certainly, we're not trying to hoard it to ourselves. But it's going to be. Yesterday, I was rage. My very good friend Greg Flugar called me, and he thought I would be. Well, I don't know what he thought. I can't put it me in his thoughts. I hope not. But he had wondered if I'd really gotten into detail in the Ross Dellinger article, and I told him I hadn't. And the reason I had is because everybody else was diving into the Ross Dellinger article. Greg did a thing yesterday. I can't remember if College Football Express did one yesterday. I think they might be doing one tonight. But I know Moen did a show. And we're going to jump into why or why not. You may or may not be upset about some of the things that Greg Sankey said yesterday. I'm going to run his audio. I hope it's not going to give me a ding. I can't promise that it won't, but it's 4 minutes, and I think it really sort of sets the stage for everything else that happened in the SEC Media Days, which is, can I just ask this open question? I don't have the answer to this. I wasn't really thinking about one way or the other, but why are SEC Media Days so close to the holiday? Can somebody riddle me that? I know the Big Ten was, when was it? The week before last. Big 12 is this week. I'm not sure why they were so close to the holiday. It really kind of surprised me, to be perfectly frank. So all of this news drops. Now we're used to the Friday news drops, right? If you've grown up in the 2000s and 2010s, you know about the Friday news drops. Everybody loves to do it. Usually they're political bad news, maybe some international stuff that they want to get out to the general population. But really, it comes down to, you want bad information. If you're a business, for instance, you're going out of business, you can lay a bunch of people off, you make that announcement on a Friday. Financial news is huge doing this. And so we got it yesterday on a holiday, which means that all the quotes were earlier, they were from before, and I just don't know if everybody was prepared for it. Now, what have we had the last couple weeks? The House settlement still isn't done, right? We don't know where everybody's going to go with roster spots. We don't know. I mean, there's so many things up in the air. And then we started hearing out of the Big Ten Media Days. What did we hear? 442213, 443358. All these different ideas. Now, the Big Ten was coming out, and they seemed like they were being reasonable, right? Everybody knows the SEC and Big Ten has the power, 64% of the voting strength within the CFP. Nobody's arguing that. We weren't climbing after the Big Ten and the SEC around here. Me and Wild Ute and everybody that's on my team and everybody that's watched this show or has been a fan of anything that's Big 12 knows that we sort of thrown our hands up in the air. We said, okay, we lost, right? We fought for something. The SEC and the Big Ten, they won. And everybody was sort of okay with that. It's like, what are you going to do about it, right? But now, Greg Sankey wants it all. And we've known they've wanted it all. Let's not lie to ourselves, and we're not. Very pragmatists around here. But we've known the Big Ten and the SEC want it all, but we also know there's politics involved. There's additional monies that might be coming from private equity, or certainly would be on the table, that college football as an entity would be stupid to just discount out of hand, right? So it's just and then this CFP from the SEC basically saying, "Nah, we don't. You guys are fun and everything. We don't need you. Not only do we not need you, we're going to rip on you, and we're going to make you feel like you're 3 years old, and we're the adults, and we're the dog at the back door. You just give chicken scraps to." And I'm sorry, I'm done. And I did put this out on Twitter. This is not news for people who follow me. I'm done being a pragmatist. That's I certainly have never been passive advocate all the way, but I'm done with being even just a viewer. I've been involved since I started my Twitter. I've been involved since I started this channel, and everybody joined me. And that's all well and good, but now it's time to fight. And I have no problem calling out Brett Yormark. I've been very kind to him in coverage in the past. I'm a pro Big 12, pro Brett Yormark guy, always have been. But the quotes that came out last week that Phillips and Brett Yormark just wanted to basically go along to get along, for the better of college football. And then Greg Sankey turns around and in your face, throws it back in your face. And I've got the quotes and all. This is like my monologue, if you want to count it anything. I don't normally do a setup like this, but the bottom line is you're either road meat or you're active. You get involved, or you have to assume the liabilities. You have to say, that's it. I'm going to treat me like a puppy. We'll take whatever you're willing to give us table scraps. And again, I just have no time for that. Not one more bit of patience that I can stand. So it's all Big 12 all the time. And I'm going to say this is going to piss a lot of people off too. What they're joining and what they're really driving people to be is mercenary. Mercenary. I mean, if you're a BYU fan, you celebrated joining the Big 12. Now you look at it and you're like, I have just as much chance to get to the CFP as like Boise State does. Strength of schedule, man, if you're undefeated, they have to let you in. You have one loss and it's to the number one team in the country. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Nobody even pays it mind. You will get in the CFP. Is that what you want? Is that what's best for college football? I cannot imagine anybody thinks that's what's best for college football, is to eliminate, what would it be? 2/3 of all the schools from competition. I fully admit, I'm on record saying, yeah, I wanted the A4 to be successful. I wanted the team balance to jump to around 72. That would include 4 to 5, depending on how you calculate the different teams. 4 to 5 G5, sorry, now G6, independent schools, Navy, whatever. Well, I guess Navy's part of the AAC, right? Anyway, doesn't matter. You get my point. Where is the BYU in basketball is brilliant, right? That's a perfect fit. There's no reason to ever change that. Literally, no reason to ever change that. It's regional travel, great. But if you can be independent again, or you're in the SEC or the Big Ten, can somebody explain to me how either or is not better than being in the Big 12, the ACC, or the G6 right now, this second? Not that I've heard. Nobody's explained me to that in great detail. And it really anyways, it is what it is. All right. I'm going to first play this Greg Sankey. Let me get it up here real quick. Okay. this is Andy Staples. I'm going to post the link so everybody knows where I'm getting this source. I'm not ripping anybody's. It's really important to me. I'm going to post this, and we're going to start to play it. If the feed shuts down, bear with me. I'll restart it. Watch my Twitter, and I will repost the link. Okay? I'll just, I'll just say it like that. If it doesn't shut down, then, we'll pick up right where I left off. But this is Greg Sankey, SEC Media Days, and you guys tell me what you think. Here we go.
So to get back to the playoff, but it also, I think, gets to governance to a certain degree. Talking about your ADs have said we've given up too much. You're sort of, again, in a position of thinking about the greater good of college football. That was talked about a lot from other commissioners last week when there was some decision seating. How do you balance what is best for the SEC?
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Maybe this will help so it doesn't ding me. So what's best for college football isn't necessarily what's best for the SEC. They're trying to break it up. And he's like, hey, you had the Big 12 and the ACC last week saying, hey, we've decided to roll over and play dead, but we'll go along with you. We'll vote for your thing. Jay Chapman, you are very welcome around here. I don't hold you accountable for your commissioner's comments, so stick around. Because I'd actually like to hear some of your feedback. Make sure you leave your comments. All right, so here we go. Ask him, what do you think about all this stuff?
With what is best for maybe if we'd be giving up a little bit for the SEC would be better for the whole.
Look at a track record. We didn't need 12. Had we stayed at 4, we would have had half the 4 last year. I don't need lectures from others about good of the game.
Hang on a second. Let's be very clear. Let's just clear the air again. Nobody was talking about good of the game. That's completely, the idea is taken out of context. It certainly is not a direct quote. The Big 12, certainly I'll talk about Brett Yormark because that's one I'm most familiar with. He's like, I want to do what's best for college football, not good of the game. He's thinking, what can I do to not only stay relevant, but to, stay active and involved. And that would exactly be, direct quote, that would be exactly where Brett Yormark was taking his voting stance and voting for the 5 plus, what is it? 5 plus, it's not 11, 8, 5 plus 7, I guess, to get to 12 straight seating. All right, we continue.
I don't lecture others about good of the game. And coordinating press releases about good of the game. Again, okay, you can issue your press statement, but I'm actually looking for ideas to move us forward.
Like nobody else is. I'll throw that in. Like, no, nobody else is doing that, Greg Sankey. You're the only one.
So, Ralph, I'll go back and say, I thought the 12-team design was really well considered at the time. We never had a unanimous vote to support the 12-team playoff. Even though I was involved in that work, that didn't mean everybody in this league, when we were at 14, thought it was the best idea.
What he's talking about there, to be clear, isn't the vote for the CFP, it's the vote within the SEC was never unanimous. Vote in the SEC was never unanimous, and I think you can guess some of the schools that might not have voted for it.
Yeah. But you engage in that type of problem solving. Our 8 or 9 game schedule, that goes back to really 2018.
Okay, 8 or 9 games. So you're in the chat there, Jay. Would you prefer to play 9 SEC teams? Because I think you probably would. I think the SEC schools themselves would love to play 9 conference games. We've seen quotes here and there that say that. I'm going to make a broad statement, and I think they probably would. The problem is they don't want to lose access because they think they're the superior league and they get to dominate who gets in. right? So, all right, next.
We've been talking about eliminating divisions from 2018 forward, and we expanded. So it became a different conversation, and the shape of that conversation has changed over time. We have to make a decision. The CFP and my colleagues have to understand there's something different here.
And my colleagues, they need to understand. Could you be more condescending, please, Greg Sankey? Could you talk worse about your actual co-ranked commissioners? There's no reason why the AAC commissioner is any less than the SEC commissioner. Come on now. That's the patronization. Oh, made my skin crawl.
We all play college football. And so while you ask that of me, I'll go back and say, we didn't need a 12-team college football playoff. Thought it was good for the game.
All of a sudden, he's good for the game.
Others held it up. I thought it was important to get after that work in a time-efficient manner, yet we held up, and then we went fast. We didn't.
He's blaming the speed of the process for letting the playoffs slide right underneath his door. He was trying to keep everybody out, slide right beneath his door, the 12-team college football playoff.
Go slow so we could go fast. We didn't do anything, and then we went fast without solving some of the other elements. I think I have a responsibility to push as well. And I think my membership has a responsibility and the desire to push me. And that is a hard issue. If you want to go inside what it's like to sit in this role.
Ooh, so tough. Like what do you really have to do every day? You golf 95% of the time you go to work. When you do go to work, you get to sit at the head of the biggest table in all of college football. You just got 13, 14 teams into the college World Series, baseball World Series tournament. You got 14 teams into the basketball tournament. Tell me why your job's so hard, Greg Sankey. Anybody explain to me? I know, Jay, you're not going to defend him. You know what you're talking about and what you have in the SEC. This guy is on another level, an absolute other level.
I think about the responsibility I have here. I think about the responsibility more broadly all the time.
What is that?
Yesterday, I said that we don't apologize here. I'm proud we have 13 games. I wish
nobody apologizes. Oh my gosh, dude. Like, what are you doing? I don't know how much you make.
It was 14 in baseball. I'm proud of what we did in men's basketball. I'm proud that we have, I think it's 5 of 8. Is it 5 of 8 in softball?
That's so terrible, right?
I actually think that can make other people better too. And when I go back to the college football playoff.
So again, as the SEC turns. So last week we were hard on Notre Dame, right? The Friday show we hammered Notre Dame. Not because of what Notre Dame had done. Man, I wish BYU had that kind of power. But because of what everybody else was doing for Notre Dame. And even Big Ten and SEC fans were pissed about that, right? Now, Notre Dame, you put on a whole lower level again compared to Greg Sankey.
I'm open to ideas. There's just not a lot of incoming. My phone's not ringing off.
Okay, that's a lie. That's a lie. I don't know if I pulled the quote. I'll find it as we're talking through these articles. It is an absolute lie. They talked about the 16-team, 14-team, and 12-team playoffs. And all the different 4-4-2-2-1-5, whatever. They talked about, there's direct quotes saying they talked about those things, certainly in the Big Ten media days. That's why we got those leaks last week.
The hook. But hey, here's another way to look at it. And so we'll continue to be thoughtful. We'll continue to try to provide perspective and information to our members.
I don't even know what that means either.
And help them guide the decision. And ultimately, I recognize I'm the one who ends up typically in front of the podium explaining not just myself, but ourselves.
Oh, it was so sad for Greg Sankey. Everybody, let's clap for Greg Sankey and the effort he's putting out and how hard he's working for all of us, for the good of college football. I want you all to recognize that the only reason we're here talking is because Greg Sankey allows us to talk about this, right? I haven't received the memo, at least I didn't check my email before we started, that said I couldn't talk about whatever I wanted to because it didn't run through the sports information department at the SEC. Nobody told me that. And as long as I'm sitting here and my team is behind me, I see, let's see, who's been in here? Well, for one thing, all you guys, all the members, and we have literally, there's 127 people watching me, and I've probably had 10 people contribute to different things we've done on our shows. Certainly Daniel Gygax is in the house, and he's been a contributing member for the last year or so. But all you guys are here, and you're allowing this to happen, and you're accepting it because we're fighting, right? If we were a passive show, you wouldn't be here. I'm the first to admit, I'm a really nice guy in person. I'm really nice at a distance, but I don't owe anybody anything. I'm not here for anyone else. I'm here for my team, the people that are around me. Jackson Johnson sitting in the wings. I appreciate you, Jackson. It's great to see you. Haven't heard from you, by the way. I don't know. I don't know what world. I think Tony Batiti is very reasonable. He still wants what's best for the Big Ten. I'm not saying he doesn't have a care in the world, but he realizes he has to live in an ecosystem, right? Sankey does not. Reminds me of the old days at Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame got away with it. Greg Sankey's trying to pull the Notre Dame treatment for an entire conference, essentially. And that's I don't know, some of those things that takes some stone. I gotta say that takes a lot of effort to do that. Let me see here. I'm trying to find. So I hope you enjoyed that video. We'll give Ross Dellinger is the one who started this tidal wave in news. But before we get to that, we're almost 25 minutes in. I want to thank everybody for being here. If you're new to the channel and you're watching on X, follow me, certainly. Follow me on Twitter, but I'd love you to jump over to YouTube and subscribe. We're trying to get to 5,000. We're just under 4,700. We can get there with all of your help. If you guys would take our videos and shows and share them with the world. Certainly, the more people we get involved, the better that we will be out in the world, and the more news we'll be able to bring you. I always defer to member comments when we're doing comments. I do ask everybody subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitter, turn on your notifications. A lot of people don't know you have notifications on YouTube and on Twitter. Underneath the picture where you're at, you see the little picture of a bell. Click that bell, and every time our show has a schedule, it'll pop up, remind you. Something will pop up in your feed, and you'll be able to know when our shows are going. And last but not least, consider becoming a member of the College Football Mafia family. It's an ever-growing family. I have a bunch of current family members in the comment section right now. If you have a question whether it's worth sticking around or not, ask them. Don't take my word for it. Ask them, because me and my team, we put the most effort. Well, I guess I can't compare level of effort, but I know my team and the people that are frequent viewers and participate are the best on social media. So, I don't claim to go head to head with some of the guys that have CBS behind them, for instance, but I think we do pretty well, and we're going to continue to do well. Thank you, Jeff Morgan. Thank you so much. Subscribed. I appreciate that. And then give us a thumbs up if you can. I appreciate him reminding me to do that too. Jeff becoming a new subscriber, that makes my day. And then last but not least, I didn't get to it. If you want your comment to be read, you want me to be sure to sort of bring up what is on your top of mind, just make it a super chat. It helps the channel out. More than that, it helps us continue building on what we've got going here. So we're going to go probably, I'm going to try to get through as much of the Ross Dellinger article, and then there's another article. I'm sorry that Dan Wolken wrote an article today on USA Today that I wanted to review too. I will invite people to join the show, though. I'll post the link. You can join in the comment section. You don't have to come on camera. You can just be off camera if you want to voice your displeasure or whatever you want to say about what we're talking about. But that way you guys have a voice, because without us, I mean, without you, we're not doing this. Okay. So first of all, let's get to what started off yesterday. For me, it was mid-morning. Here we're trying to celebrate not Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and thank you to all those veterans out there that sacrificed. I took a moment yesterday to reflect. I have family that are veterans, first responders, police, firemen, anybody that goes out and does a job selflessly. I thank you and your families for your sacrifice. Okay. All right. I've said that now. So I was having a great day, and then all of a sudden my Twitter just started getting hammered. And then I started getting DMs from people that are looking after what we do around here. They get involved. They follow us on Twitter and send me DMs. And then I go with those links and I try to chase them down as much as possible. And it was just like a firing line, an absolute fire line. So what I'm going to do first, and I have done a dumb thing here. I did. Somehow I lost the link. I apologize. So I'm just going to post the link to the Ross Dellinger article direct. Okay. So I apologize, Ross. I lost your Twitter link. I think I was trying to do too many things at once before the show. But that is the direct link if you want to read the article, which was fantastic. Ross Dellinger, bunch of quotes came out of this thing. And I want to, we'll go through those. Okay. And then as we go through them in pieces, we'll stop, we'll pause, and we'll converse. All right. Is that a deal? Everybody okay with that? All right, here we go. And I think you can read that. Well, I'll even do you one more. I'll go down. Nope. Yeah, I can do that. Okay. So again, this is Ross Dellinger covering the SEC Media Days and Greg Sankey. All right, I'm going to dive right in. I'm going to skip all the top stuff. Great article above it, but I didn't really care. CFP format controversy. Okay, let's get to that. Disagreement over the future format of football's postseason, an annual $1.3 billion enterprise, has turned into something much more serious. Discord and distrust. I'm going to jump ahead. The Big Ten and SEC, two leagues, have financially and intentionally separated themselves from the others, that are supporting a 16-team playoff format that grants each the Big Ten and the SEC 4 qualifiers, and the ACC Big 12 get 2. The G6 get 1, and then there's 3 open. And usually one of those 3 is going to go to Notre Dame. Okay. That's not news, right? We've been talking about that for literally almost 2 freaking years. Okay. So brings it up, Discord, blah, 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 blah. None of that matters to me. If we jump down here, we will say the Big 12 sees we're going to war. Okay, that's a great quote, right? Catches your attention. People are pissed about this CFP. They absolutely are. And look at all the interested parties. 11 members CFP governing board. That's all 10 conferences plus Notre Dame. What did we talk about last week? Does Notre Dame deserve to be treated like an entire conference? Just let that sink in. Notre Dame not only has the voting interest, but they have the control as the same as the Big 12. For that matter, as much as the Big 10. All right, system's broken, guys. And we talked about it for a long time. That's not news. But again, it came up in this article, so I just want to make sure we talked about it. They're supposed to have meaningful consultation and collect input. when they get together talking about the CFP, everybody's supposed to have consultation time and input. That's right now. That's 2025. What's 2026 look like? 2026 looks like whatever they want to make it. 2026 can literally be anything. Okay, so the things that people chew on, and this is something this paragraph I cannot elucidate more. The SEC's decision on format is a pivotal step that may ignite a chain of moves within the conference itself, with 4 guaranteed spots. So here we go. In the postseason, SEC administrators are open to a 9th game. Okay. And then they would eventually strike a scheduling agreement with the Big Ten, which is what Moen's been talking about forever. And then they can remake the championship weekends for the conferences. Maybe there'll be semifinals, play-in games, something like that. But if these bigger conferences get 4 guaranteed, more powerful conferences, Big Ten, ACC, get 4 apiece, then they'll say, sure, what the hell, throw in a 9th game. We don't care. Because we know we got 4 slots, and then we'll, of course, probably get 5, 6, and 7. But we're not going to talk about that. We'll just talk about the 4 that we are guaranteed, because they don't want to be who last year. They don't want to be Ole Miss, right? They don't want to be South Carolina, Texas A&M, you name it, down the line. Alabama, I'm going to leave out on its own. That's what they want. We've been complaining for months and months and months. Just take up the 9th game. Just do it. Who the hell cares? Well, now we know why they've been holding out. And that's not news to anybody. We generally had an understanding of why. But it is what it is now. Now Greg Sankey's come out and actually said it. Okay. But there are other playoff formats in consideration, including a 16-team bracket with a single qualifier for each power conference. For each power conference champion. So that's 4. And the best group of 6 champion, which is 5, and 11 at-large bids. That's basically what we got now, just adding 3 more teams. Okay? Again, is that something that people are going to flip out about? I lost my marbles last week. I admit it. I was really upset last week when the announcement came out, betrayal, all of it for the Big 12. But at this point, so all of this people need to understand is manipulation of the narrative. That's why I didn't do a show last night or yesterday. I don't like to do day of or even reaction videos unless it's after a BYU brutal loss. But the reason is because 1, I want to think about it a little bit, digest all the information, and 2, I'm thinking next level. Like, what's 5D chess on this whole thing? And what it is they want to scare people so it grants them the power to do whatever they want. And people will say, well, at least it's not, right? They'll say, well, at least it's not just the SEC and the Big Ten breaking away. We'll take anything we got, right? We'll take anything. Just let us continue to participate. Give us that access. Arm behind our, arm bar. Just, we'll do anything. Please don't hurt us. Okay? And that's what yesterday was, in my opinion. It was the ultimate, this is how we feel about you. We're going to say it in the open so you guys can quote us. Your social media people can put it online, and you guys will ban you about da, 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 da. But at the end of the day, this is all disinformation. It's all planted to make people react, to go the other way. And this, unfortunately, in another life, I would have a political commentary show. I don't. I'm not going to go into that. But if people can just think in the recent past, what happens when you get scared and people overreact, and the amount of power you will delegate to others because you're afraid of the alternative. I don't care what anybody else shows is saying. I don't care. That is the reason. I'd be happy to debate somebody about it, but I don't think anybody would. Well, there are a couple people, but anybody that I respect is going to come on and disagree with that. Okay? All right, we'll continue. Pitt coach Pat Narduzzi, I think you should earn your way into any playoff. It comes down to the image of the Big Ten and SEC. There's a lack of respect for the ACC. I don't like it. I think you can put Big 12 in there as well. And then we all know what's going on with governance. We all know that 65% weighted voting power. Basically, what the A4 is doing is trying to take over governance, enforcement, making all the rules, and then controlling the championships. And they already technically, I think, have the power to do it. They can't do anything. At least they can't put any steps in place until House is settled, though. All of this is predicated on House, which is funny because there's nobody that covers House more than me on YouTube. And I don't take it from me. Go back and watch any of my shows that have actual lawyers on. They're the subject matter experts. They're the ones who can tell you House predicates everything. All right. There's so much of this that at least 3 commissioners of non-FBS conferences have publicly criticized the model, at least one of them fearing that the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, and ACC will use their voting block to restructure men's basketball. We don't talk a lot of basketball around here, but as power goes, basketball is obviously second to football, but it's the one that everybody competes in. 300 some odd teams. That's the one where everybody's already getting money. Like the Big Sky Conference here. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Is that I know whose quote that is. What's his name? The Italian guy. Anyway. We continue. So well, I don't know. The rest of this, there's just so much that we've already talked about. I don't want to waste time on. I really want to stay focused, not losing my words. Baylor, this is an interesting one. The 1 or 2 ADs that are on the record in this whole thing, one of them has been Baylor. And he's saying the total package, all of college sports, is $100 million question, which leads into billions and billions of dollars. The CFP, $100 million. And then I know that, what was the Rudy project, like $8 billion proposed, something like that. And that hasn't been pushed through. It wasn't necessarily accepted, but that was one of the proposals. And it's because there is so much money involved. All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I've activated this new feature. It actually is the streaming comments. I am not enforcing. I see Jackson and Moen are both watching, so they will do the enforcement if somebody says anything. But in the comment section, let me know what you guys think about it. On my solo shows or on my interview shows where we're through the editorial and commentary phase and we're doing Q&A, I might turn that on because I think it's cool. You guys get to see your comments, not just in the comment section, but on the stream. Let me know if you like it. If you don't like it, tell me that too. We're not sure if it's a good thing or not. All right, let me get to this other article. Ross Dellinger blew everybody up yesterday. There were so many quotes. It was like, I honestly think the whole thing was on purpose. He's just trying to, it's just, in my opinion, it's all disinformation. I don't think there's a question about that. Anyway, let's see here. Let's go to the opinion article. Now, this was cool from Dan Wolken. I don't know if you've seen it. Again, I will post the direct link to the article just so, you know, we always give credit where credit's due. Dan Wolken, I like him. He's a very thoughtful writer. I know he's not watching my show, but Dan, I appreciate the effort you put into your articles. Thank you very much. This is his opinion. College sports leaders acting like children and squabble over CFP. Okay, so I think maybe I'll just read the read the header and then go on to you guys' comments. Isn't that funny? College sports leaders in quotes. That cracks me up. Absolutely cracks me up. What quote did I want to take from this thing? I don't know. I just got a chuckle out of that title. I've read it again. I've read this article twice, and now I don't know if I even want to go into it. Nah, it doesn't really matter. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. I want you to go and read the article, okay? You're all smart. We don't need to. You've seen 24 hours of news from what happened yesterday. All the reporting from Ross Dellinger. I want to hear you guys' comments. This is a shout back episode of Bombers Blitz, and I care more about what you guys want than I want. If there's something in the Ross Dellinger article you want me to get to, tell me what that is, and I will grab the link from Ross because he's got a bunch of good ones. But I there's so many. I just I mean, I guess we could go through here. I guess okay, let's do a couple here. I kind of talk myself in and out of stuff really quick. All right, let's make this bigger. This is one thing. So Ross Dellinger was 26 yesterday. Yeah, it was. Yesterday says Greg Sankey says certain formats 4-4-2-2-1 could actually cost the SEC qualifying teams. And then Ross shines a light on what those stats actually look like historically, and it would show the Big Ten, then the SEC, and then the Big 12 for a 16 team. For a 14 team, it's Big 10, SEC, Big 12. Well, I guess ACC. Yeah, it's the same order. But there's more entries from Notre Dame, which I find interesting because Notre Dame hasn't exactly been a rocket science pick over the years. But with these expanded playoffs, this 5 and 7 are like auto qualifiers. Literally every year they would get in. So do what you want with that. Here, in fact, I'm just going to post Ross's main page on Twitter. There are so many quotes on his page. I'm not going to micromanage them. There was just a couple here. Let's see. This is a new one that started since the show, right before the show started. I wonder, this is a good one. Ross talking about the Deloitte clearinghouse. Deloitte officials, those operating the new NIL Go clearinghouse, presented before coaches today at SEC spring meetings. NIL Go is expected to be up and running 3 days after the NIL settlement. That's off topic tonight, but this is one I'm gonna have to bookmark because, yeah, I want my consigliere group to look at that and tell me what they think about that. 3 days after the house thing, so everybody's proceeding like it's a done deal. You know, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. That's not the Kirby Smart article. I'm not going to micromanage those. I'll go back off. Okay, let's get back to just hearing what you guys have to say. I've already talked more than I wanted to. So this is what we're going to do to make things fun. I'm going to post the link to join. If you come on, it's just going to be a few minutes unless I just get tired, need more people. But if you come on and I'll grab you right away, make sure you know it's just because I have to queue people. The largest queue package I've ever seen is 4 people. Oh, wait, I hit the wrong button. So just be patient. If you want to come on the show, that's totally fine. But let's talk Greg Sankey and everything that was reported yesterday. Florida AD, I'm just cracking up. A committee is not ideal to choose a postseason. I question whether it's appropriate for college football. It's a funny quote because everybody knows Florida State got screwed and Alabama got included that year. Okay, here we go. There's a StreamYard link. If you want to join the show, bring your comments, questions with you, and we will talk about them. And I will try to get to as many of those as I can. In the meantime, we're going to jump back to the top. I'm going to do as many shout outs as I can. We'll start with Moen, says he was first. Devil Frog, who's been kicked off Twitter for some reason. Good to see you, Devil Frog. Another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. Says, if the Big 12 and ACC cave now, college football becomes a closed circuit for 30 teams and 2 networks. They must hold the line politically, legally, and strategically. I will say this, and thank you, Devil Frog, for your comment. I would say this. There was a congressman. I can tell you his name without showing it. I'm sure everybody knows. I sent, what is his name? Oh, gosh. There's a congressman that's fighting this whole thing, or at least speaking up about it, and I sent him a DM. I'm hoping he replies because I'd love to have him on the show and explain what he thinks he can do to help control the narrative. Thank you, Devil Frog. I really, really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to bring on one of my co-hosts in the past, somebody that I appreciate a lot being here. How you doing, Jackson? We've got a few minutes. What's on your mind?
Oh man, I gotta tell you, like Sankey, I kind of felt like he's trying to get everybody to feel bad for him, but
how is
it's
that
just not
possible? How is that possible?
It makes me think about the quote from Mr. Pink from Reservoir Dogs, where he's like, "See this? World's smallest violin."
Maybe that might be the case.
It's just so funny, but it's just like, no, I don't feel bad for Sankey. And honestly, the Big Ten, I think same thing's gonna happen to that Big Ten SEC partnership.
Yeah.
I think what's gonna happen to that is the same thing that happened to the alliance. It didn't last long. I feel like same thing will happen. I don't think we're gonna see like the Big Ten SEC schedule challenge deal, but we'll wait and see what happens.
Well, why? Let's okay. That'll be the topic you and I speak about. The SEC Big Ten Challenge right this second, and I know Moen's gonna jump on me for this, but right this second, if you're the Big Ten, why would you do that?
I know, right? It's just like
the SEC's already playing with an upper hand, right?
Yeah.
I realize viewership, all those other things, but wouldn't it be better to just schedule your own conference? Go to 10.
Right.
Go to 10 conference games. Play 2 FCS schools.
Yeah. Or I wish in a way we could like go back to where things were, like say 1985, where everybody was in their own region, but maybe that happens in the future not in a very long distance time, but maybe it doesn't. But we'll wait and see what happens. I'd love for it to go back to like the Southwest Conference or like the old Big East. But
yeah, those days are gone.
I know, right?
Yeah, those days are gone. I think, and I appreciate your analysis. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And if we had more time, Jackson, I would dive into this with you in greater detail.
Sure.
But let me just ask you a question before I let you go.
All right.
If you are Brett Yormark or Jim Phillips,
okay,
what are you doing right this second to change your stars?
Well, I'm making sure that my conferences get a better deal than what they're getting. I'd be looking out for my teams, looking out for my conferences.
Right.
If I'm Phillips and Yormark, and Phil, I mean, like Yormark's done a good job, but like lately he's been kind of lagging. But
right.
Phillips, he's just not seeing the signs or doing a good job reading the room.
Well, again, I've seen one, there may be 2 congressmen that have chirped up on Twitter saying this is not okay. We're not going to let it just go, right? I don't know though that's enough. I'm calling for action. You've seen my tweets.
Yep.
You've seen my big alert saying, get active, get involved, speak
Let's
up.
do it.
Now's the time to do that. I can't think of what else Brett Yormark could be doing.
There you go. I mean, what I'd be, and all you gotta do, if your team's like not looking so good or they're getting screwed out of the future, which it's looking like for teams in the Big 12 ACC, maybe
Right.
not so much the Clemson's, Florida States, but more like the North Carolina States, the Wake Forest's, Boston College, Iowa States of the world. They got to make sure that they don't wind up like Oregon State and Washington State. Read the room, read the signs now before it's too late.
I love that. That's a final word from Jackson Johnson. Everybody, Jackson, tell everybody about your channel really quick before you go.
Well, they can find me on Jackson Johnson 979 on YouTube. They can check me out on Alabama at the Voice of College Football. And of course, for more updates on what I've got going on in Alabama Voice College Football or the Jacksonian or my once a week calls on the Feinbaum Show, check me out on Jackson VOCFB on @/Twitter and on Instagram. That's Jackson Johnson 543908. But if you don't like X or Instagram for whatever reason, check me out on Jackson Johnson 97 Blue Sky Social, where my friend Mike Debate says, where the skies are blue.
You need to like put that into a little audio clip and just hit a button. There you go.
Oh, I plan to at some point. Although I'm probably gonna have to make sure I figure out the sound bites. I'm gonna be like, hey Mo, can you add this sound bite to your sound bite?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. Anyway, thank you so much, Jackson. It's great to see you.
Good to see. Stay away from the
Okay.
rainstorm.
We got no rain here.
Well, we got rain here in Bama.
I've heard about the flooding, and I prayers to those families impacted, obviously.
You have an awesome night and sleep.
All right,
well,
you
man.
too. We'll see you later.
See you
Bye-bye.
later, Nathan.
All right, Jackson Johnson was in the house. I'll give him a clap out. Thank you so much, Jackson. I appreciate it very much. Let's continue. I'm going to run back and let's get here to the top because I got into my monologue, didn't say hello. I need to say hello to at least the first few people that were with us. Skaven, yes. I know a recent member of the College Football Mafia family saying Moen should always be first. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. Daniel Gygax saying, hey, everyone, here's the link if you want to join the show. Just click the link. It's really easy. You don't have to turn on your camera, although I do like to see people. And give me your comment or question. I'm going to get through as many of these tonight as I can. Over 200 people watching. I know you guys care, so let's hammer through these. Michelle Weintraub, good to see you. Saying, hey, y'all, good to see you. MBM, a very, very valuable member of College Football Mafia family. I'd say at this point, maybe a non-commissioned officer. MBM, thank you so much. Or Oklahoma State in the house. Go Pokes. Stephen Vitt, love Stephen Vitt. Ohio Bobcats. I hope I have that right, Stephen. All right. I always get it wrong, maybe. But I appreciate seeing you, saying, hi, Bombers. Good to see you. Shonsky checking in, saying, hi, everyone. Good to see you, Shonsky, another member of the College Football Mafia Nation. Cougar Tracks. Good to see you, Cougar Tracks. It's been a minute. I appreciate all your hard work. Thank you for being here. We got to, you, me, and Shonsky got to stay positive on BYU, okay? Stay positive. Positive thoughts. That's where we want to be. Let's see. I already did Jackson. Let me get to as many of these as I can. I don't want to miss anybody. Let's see. Jay Chapman did check in. Got a feeling I ain't too welcome in here today. Jay, you are always welcome in here. And, I don't, as long as you're not rude or, say something you're not supposed to, you're always welcome around here. I love the SEC vibe because we don't have a lot of SEC people. I'll be the first one to admit it. It's a hard group to get into. So having you here, I very much appreciate you. RT, another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family, saying, you're good in my book, Jay. There you go. So, Jay, you're set. You got somebody backing you up right there. Sun Devil ASU, recent follow both of us on Twitter. I appreciate that very much. Sun Devil ASU. I feel like SEC fans want regionalism more than most. It's the money-hungry people in charge. Well, that's sort of stating the obvious, Sun Devil ASU. I know you know that. But the reason the SEC has the advantages it does is because it is regional. Outside of Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, right? Who am I missing? Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas. You're not going to go, obviously you can't go any far west. It is regional. You're in 2 time zones, easier to schedule, more profitable broadcasting windows, more concentrated fan bases. They have all these inherent advantages, let alone the stuff that I'm going to do a video on. RPI, preseason coaches polls, and recruiting rankings, all used to count. I think all 3 used to count in the old BCS. I might be missing one of those. And people are screaming for the BCS to come back. I know Wild Judah said, man, BCS is better than what we got, right? I don't know if that's the case. I got some real problems with BCS. It was kind of a better pick, but it involves resources that are already inherently corrupted. And I don't have time for that tonight. But anyways, Sun Devil ASU, thank you. It's great to see you. Steve Moser checking in. Good to see you, Steve. Lol at the eagle flag thing. I don't know what that was. Inside joke. So I'm going to let it go. Let's see. Daniel Gygax going to join the show for a couple minutes. How we doing, Daniel? He just took himself out. Where did you go? Let's try again. Daniel, you there?
Yeah, remember I've got AT&T, so my internet.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. What's your thought tonight?
Well, we talked about last night, and the congressman's name is Brendan Boyle. Was the one that had to tweet up today.
Okay.
Very interesting. He's a Notre Dame alum. So if there is a power 2, where's Notre Dame fit? He might be looking out for number 1 more than anything else.
Who?
Just Brendan Boyle, the congressman from yesterday.
Is it Boyle or Broyle? I'm trying to find him. I can't find my DM for some reason. Brendan with an A. I got it. Keep going. I got it.
Oh, Brandon. Yeah, Brandon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're now talking. I mean, it's always been kind of political, but now you're having people jumping in saying, hey, what about us? What about protecting this? What about protecting that? And
let me interrupt you right there. Weren't they already trying to do that? Isn't this sort of outside of that?
Well, this guy is going to be a protect Notre Dame guy. He went to Notre Dame.
By
He
default,
went
to by default, he's also trying to protect everybody else. It's ironic because Notre Dame doesn't need protection, but keep going.
Well, I mean, if an SEC and Big Ten world, Notre Dame could be shoot to the side because then it would just be people in the Big Ten, people in the Southeastern Conference, and everybody else can do whatever because they don't care.
Notre Dame's never going to be out of that circle.
Yeah, they probably won't. They won't.
It's a fact.
No.
They won't.
But the one thing that I keep hearkening back to, and what I think that's interesting is that why is the SEC doing it now?
I told you. I think they're trying to scare people into overreaction.
Yeah,
so that they get something marginally better.
But how much better? They're already taking it. They're already taking more money off the top than anybody else that doesn't have the name Big Ten.
But Sankey's screaming that they still don't have it all. He wants it all. That's what he's telling everybody. He's not going to get it.
But Sankey can scream all he wants. Petitti's not saying a word.
On purpose. Petitti's smarter than Sankey is. I think Sankey's a wily coyote. I think he doesn't care what happens.
And the thing with Petitti, he knows what he has, and they're playing poker. There's a guy at the table yapping. There's a guy at the table that's making money. And guess which one makes the money? The guy that doesn't say a word.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I think Petit is
I mean-
better. He's better at it, but even if he's better at it, it doesn't matter. Because Sankey, literally, we've listened to him for 4 minutes, and
I know.
he thinks like they're the ones that are getting curb stomped.
Sankey is still upset Indiana got in.
Yeah,
Sankey
well,
is
that's not
still
gonna change,
upset
right?
that SMU got in. SMU was 11-2. They lost to BYU, who really
yeah.
got screwed.
Yes, they did.
And they lost the ACC Conference Championship game to Clemson, who got in.
Yes.
It was only lost during the season.
Uh-oh. You there, Daniel?
I'm here.
All right,
I'm
sorry. Either you glitched or I did.
No, it's mine. Every single afternoon lately, I'm trying to chase down and see if somebody's still on my internet, and I haven't found it yet. So,
Okay. That happened to me like 20 years ago. I remember going through that.
my mom
All
has
right.
my mom has way better internet, and she lives in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia.
That's ironic.
And what I do here,
Because you live in California. That's
Thanks
funny.
a lot, AT&T.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm going to
because
give
I
you a
live in
final
California,
word.
So,
What's your final word tonight? Daniel?
don't trust Sankey. Don't trust Notre Dame.
Okay.
That's the
I
best way to
appreciate
put
that.
it.
I don't
All
think
right.
trust is even an option. I don't think
No.
there's no trust involved at all now.
No. All right. Thanks, Nate.
Hey, we'll see you later, Daniel. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. All right. I that might have been my internet or Daniel's, one of us, but I think you get the point. The point is that it's broken. And Greg Sankey is driving the bus, and everybody else, except for Tony Petita, Notre Dame. Look, yeah, I'm not going to go into greater detail on that. I'm going to keep reading comments. I will post the link to join the show. There you go. You want to come on and talk for a couple minutes? I appreciate. I'm doing this show for you guys, not for me. So please come on. Consider posting your comment as a super chat. I read all super chats, and then I try to defer to member comments as much as I can. Okay. Joseph Kerlegan Jr. Now that's a cool name. Joseph Kerlegan Jr., thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment or question. Let us know how we're doing around here. I really appreciate you. I bet if the SEC and Big Ten left the NCAA, Notre Dame would join the Big Ten immediately and give up their independent status. I'm a Notre Dame fan of 30 years saying this. Joseph, one thing, congratulations for being a Notre Dame fan. It's kind of like being a fan of the New York Yankees. Your legacy is your legacy is unblemished. The last few years haven't been great, but you made the championship game, and I say congratulations to you and to your school. I think Notre Dame will never join a conference unless they lose their CFP status. And the day they lose their CFP status, and I don't know how they'd even do that at this point, the day they lose their CFP status, probably the next day or maybe the afternoon of the same day, they join a conference, and that conference is either some sort of cobbled together best of the best of the ACC and Big 12, which is a possibility. If you're a Big 12 fan, you just got to say it out loud. That could happen. And Notre Dame joins them. That's what's so messed up about all this, because realignment is not done. Realignment's not done. The college football playoff is next year, and house settlement and everything go with it. All three of those balls are in the air. And I am willing to stake what little reputation I have on the fact that Brett Yormark has been praying for an ACC resolution. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. Okay. Because the minute the ACC, and what I mean by that is the brands are settled. Who are the brands? Florida State, Clemson, FSU, North Carolina. Maybe Virginia, but I think it's just those four. They're the biggest brands in the conference. Louisville is actually a more viewed contributor to the ACC, but, it is what it is. Those are the top four, and Brett Yormark's waiting for them to find a home. And as a Big 12 fan, and the Big 12 fans watching the show, a lot of Big 12 people watch the show. As a Big 12 fan, you've been praying for the ACC to be settled. Because the minute the ACC settled, Brett Yormark can bring in private equity. They've already discussed private equity 2-3 different times. I think it's ready to go to do what they need to do to bring in schools. Maybe not next year, but in the next 3-4 years. And Brett Yormark's been praying for that event, and it hasn't happened yet. Notre Dame will continue to be independent until they lose their CFP access, their privileged CFP access. Anyway, Joseph, it's great to see you here. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Again, make sure you subscribe. Tell your family and friends. We do a pretty good job around here. Go Black 45, another valuable member of the college football mafia family. The Big 12 is in this post of bad business. They made, I don't know. Moen's not here. Bad business they made 20 years ago. I'm not exactly sure what that sentence meant. Sorry, Go Black. By the way, Go Black has one of the best names in social media. That forced Nebraska, Arkansas, Missouri, Texas A&M to leave. I think he's basically saying when the Big 12 screwed up and lost those brands, and they did screw that up, and then they turned around and lost Texas and Oklahoma. That iteration of the Big 12 was brilliant. I am not going to lie. The current iteration cannot claim to be that status, but I think the Big 12's done a pretty good job in representation. Last year, BYU got screwed. I don't care who you are. Yeah, I'm wearing a BYU hat and everything that goes with it. But you look at all the data, and BYU beating SMU should have given them a spot in the playoff. They should have been an SMU spot. That's not against SMU. That's against the strength of schedule argument. And Greg Sankey has said strength of schedule. Why schedule anybody outside your conference strong if you have the Boise State rule? What's the Boise State rule? Can anybody put that in the comment section? Boise State rule that just has been verbalized, although we've known it all along. If you go undefeated, or if you go nearly undefeated, but you have a loss that looks good, Boise State, 2024, you will be that representative of the G6. And that includes the independents. Sorry, it doesn't include the independents, just the conference champions, G6. So Sankey doesn't care for that rule. Frankly, I think straight the schedule should be huge. And it would encourage the best teams to play. It would encourage these cross Big 10 SEC games. It would encourage the best Big 12 teams to be out there scheduling the toughest teams. Now there is a disincentive to do any of those things. Major disincentive. Okay, we'll keep going. Let's see here. Daniel Gorby, good to see you, Daniel. Doesn't Sankey make $2 million a year? I don't know what Sankey makes. Does it really matter what he makes? Probably not. I think what he makes is kind of irrelevant. What matters is the power he yields. Fergie, FF18 Boss, good to see you, man. Another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. Fergie is catching up. Scobus, more the merrier. P2 sucks. Yeah, I'll let that stand on its own. Tempest checking in, another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. Notre Dame is a cancer to any conference. I'm gonna think about that before I just immediately react to that. Certainly, it isn't the greatest member in football if you give them full voting rights without being full committed. Then it is a cancer. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about the ACC. Yeah, the ACC, the Notre Dame deal. It's just bad. It's bad in every way. It's good for the few schools that get to play Notre Dame every year. It's not good for anybody else. It's good for Notre Dame. So I don't know if it'd be a cancer in a Big Ten under a new college football playoff, umbrella that forces him to do that. Yeah, I'm just wanting to let that set in. And I want to give Go Black a second here. First of all, Bomber, you have no idea what he does all day. Of course I don't. I'm not sitting in his head. We're talking about Sankey, Greg Sankey. Any head of a large organization has multiple calls per day and emails to answer schedule requests. Okay, yes. I'm not exactly sure what the end of that was, Go Black 45, but there you go. I read it. And it's obviously true. I was editorializing when I was saying, what in the hell does he do all day? He has nothing to lose. Moen, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm much better than I was last night.
Glad to hear it. I will I know that a lot of people out there tonight are saying kumbaya between the Big 12 and the ACC. But this is still a race to 3, people. This is still a race to 3. Can you let your guard down?
Are you asking me a question?
If you're Brett Yormark, you gonna let your guard down?
Of course not.
If you're Jim Phillips, you gonna let your guard down?
Jim Phillips, I'm not sure has a guard. Jim
It's-
Phillips is at the mercy of the SEC and ESPN. They have no alternate reality for the
Jim
next
Phillips is at the
11
mercy
years.
of Notre Dame.
Okay, fine. If you want, but Notre Dame's not the only one, though. I mean, he has multiple masters.
Absolutely, but I don't see. I know everybody wants to stand up and unite and fight against the tyranny of the SEC, but at the same time, you got to fight for yourself, and you got to fight for your survival. And
So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Jackson and I asked Daniel. What do you do if you're Brett Yormark?
You got to strike while the iron's hot.
Which means what?
I think they've got to start going after these ACC teams.
Don't you think they've been trying?
I think they've been trying, but I think now they've got to do it more than ever.
That's what I'm militant.
I think you've got to push it now. And I mean, I understand a lot of people probably don't want to hear that right now.
No, I think it's a fair comment.
But it's the scorpion and the toad. It's in the scorpion's nature to sting the toad. I mean,
well, there's zero disincentive.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you're the Big 12 right now, you've got to be thinking of how I can get the top 4 ACC teams out of the ACC into the Big 12.
I agree.
And how I can maximize the profitability for the Big 12 in order to do that. And you're going to kill the ACC.
Well, hasn't that been certainly it was my mantra when I started the channel, then you joined a few months later. We've been saying that for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, one of these, the ACC or the Big 12 is one of them has to die.
I agree. Well, in its current power football conference iteration, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Sankey is an asshole. I think we've all established that. I think we can all agree on that. I think even SEC fans can agree that Sankey's an asshole.
Well, that's what Jay Chapman said. I lean on him.
We can all lean on Greg Sankey being an asshole, and we can all agree on it for the minute. But there's still realignment going on out here. There is still consolidation going on out here. There is still this. You're right. The playoff format, the Big Ten and the SEC are going to ultimately decide what that is, and it's probably going to be the 4-4-2-2. And I know that's not the best for the Big 12 or the ACC, but might as well sign on board. And when you get rid of the other conference, maybe negotiate that up to a 3. You've already given the power over to the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah, that's
Like,
done. That can't be
yeah,
that
like-
can't be grasped back.
The time to fight this battle was before you did that. You can't fight this, but you literally have surrendered all your weapons and then said, "Okay, now let's fight the battle." You gave away the house already.
Yeah, but
So
you act like they had an option. They did it with a gun at their head. They did it. I'll give you an offer you can't refuse.
well, you've always got the option, Nate. I mean,
It's
If-
you can't. There is
to-
such a
to
thing
take
as
the option-
as an option that's not an
okay,
option.
but then to take the option now and be like, "Okay, now let's fight." After you've given all the power over to the Big Ten and the SEC, you've
we
given
know
away
why.
weapons.
Let's talk about that in detail. We know the reason that happened is because the whole time Brett Yormark was, I believe, negotiating in good faith. He came in as a wheeler dealer and he said, I'm going to ignore the ACC. I'm going to do everything I can for the Big 12. And if that means I'm going to take them through realignment, I'm going to bring in schools for just survival's sake. In his mind, he's like, if I play along, they'll treat me as a sort of a half tier down equal. He was assuming they were dealing in good faith.
Let's be honest here. Brett Yormark's a killer.
He is, but he hasn't
did.
killed.
He absolutely he went in and took Colorado.
Well, I sort of count that as a given.
He took Colorado, which led him to the other 3 corners. He got Arizona State, Utah. So Yormark's a killer. He's been a part of this before. He has shown himself to be more than willing to stab another conference right in the front and lift properties from them. So I think he needs to do that again. I call me cynical, call me old fashioned. I don't know what you want to call me, but it's a race to 3. And I think right now the Big Ten and the SEC have, they're there. You're not going to get rid of the Big Ten. You're not going to get rid of the SEC. They've accumulated too much power. They've accumulated too much wealth. The next race is to see who's number 3 and who is a part of that number 3. And if I'm Brett Yormark and I'm the Big 12, tonight I'm making calls to Virginia Tech. I'm making calls to Pitt. I am making calls to North Carolina State. I'm saying, look, listen, Clemson and Florida State sued to get outside of the ACC grant of rights. They don't plan on sticking around. If you plan on sticking around, okay, but you might want to ask Oregon State and Washington State how that works out.
So everything that you said, we as a team have been saying for, again, roughly 2 years. We knew it 2 years ago. Brett Yormark probably knew it 4 years ago, right after he took the job, maybe before he took the job. And yet, where we are where we are. Do you think he gave up that power freely? I think Brett Yormark has done probably the best he can with, he had a 2 pair, right? He's bluffing. He's waiting for the river card, hoping he gets that, that full house. And I think that waiting is over. You talk about taking the schools. I believe those phone calls have already happened to their lead, whoever they can negotiate with in the ACC. And I don't think, by the way, unless something changes, that's not Pitt, because they they've heretofore have proved to be non-compliant or certainly not willing. They just want to stand on their own, and that's great for them. But we know the 4 or 5 schools that definitely either believe where they're at is, no, it's untenable, and they're going to try to get out no matter what. And he's talked to every one of those schools. Brett Yormark's probably got 10 schools on speed dial in the ACC. But it can't, just having phone call access does not break the ACC up.
I don't disagree with you. I just think I see a lot of people out on social media, on Twitter, on YouTube, in the comment section saying it's time for the ACC and Big 12 to team up.
Well, wait a second. Let's break that down for a second, because that's a good point. I didn't get to that quote. Let's talk about the specific comment you're talking about. That's based on there was a negotiation done. Certainly, there's 2 different things. There's always been a discussion group about the ACC and the Big 12 combining. It's been that way since the Pac-12 was decimated, right? They took the best brands. Now the ACC is on life support. They can see it. They're getting sued by their best brands, but they have to assume they're going to lose those brands. I think the merging conversation has existed for probably more than 2 years. They've had conversations about trying to pool their power to get the leg up, right? Unfortunately, there's a millstone the ACC can't get rid of, and that's the brands that don't draw any fans. I don't know why. I'm not going to talk about it, but the pure numbers say there are brands that simply don't carry the freight in the ACC. And because of that, Brett Yormark said, I'm not going to take a distressed asset. I'm not going to be, I don't want to be Lehman Brothers, right? I want to be Citigroup. I want to be the buying member. And if you're the buyer, why would you take on those dragging down 4 or 5 or 6 brands in the ACC?
I don't disagree, but you've also got to understand there's brands like that in the Big 12.
Not many.
There's still brands like UCF. Come on, UCF. You've got your Cincinnati's.
Okay.
You've got some of the newer, there's some Big 12 teams that could listen, if you wanted to make the best of, you could take the best out of the ACC and the best out of the Big 12 and have a more valuable conference by streamlining.
That's 1,000%. It's exactly right. It's 1,000% positive. And we had a report last week that some of those top brands have met.
They've had clandestine calls that we somehow
That's
know
right.
about.
And once that report came out, everybody that wasn't in the room in that Ramada Inn in New Jersey, wherever that happened, those schools that are on the outside, once that report came out, they freaked out. I promise you that is not something people are just sitting back going, oh, okay, it's just another happening. What the hell cares? I think if you weren't in the room for those conversations, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that there's Big 12 teams and ACC teams that have to look towards the Pac-12 and ask if they want that to become them. I
just don't know how you fight it.
I think you've got to be proactive. Again, how you do that, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
If it was that easy as what you're just saying, and obviously I'm just asking you general question, not you yourself, but the whole world is looking in. That isn't part of the Big Ten, SEC, and Notre Dame. Everybody's looking in, saying, what can we possibly do? And the only one that has freedom of movement is Brett Yormark. The Pac-12 and the Mountain West are locked up, and the AAC. So those 3 can't really do anything. So it really just comes down to Brett Yormark. Jim Phillips has no freedom of movement.
I don't know if anybody has freedom of movement at this point.
I think Brett Yormark does.
Everybody's writing things down on flash paper. and calling on burner phones at this point. Nobody wants to get caught up in like any
Yeah, that's true. Litigation is a
litigation.
killer.
So
Yeah. Here's
but-
a good comment from the Big Lubbock. By the way, thank you, Lubbock. It's great to see you. I'm missing that member tag next to your name. The winds have changed. The Big 12 and ACC now have some politicians on their side, something we didn't have when we gave up our weapons. So, boy, he just a great. All right, give me 30 seconds political here. The Big 12 is literally Ukraine right now. Actually, that's the reverse. It's the ACC that's Ukraine because they have brands that are gone. They have brands that in the current ACC are not going to stay in the current ACC. Something has to change. And those pieces have been carved out of the ACC. And then from a standpoint of being on their own, the Big 12 and the ACC are both like Ukraine. Okay. Political rant over. You're getting basically peace forced down your throat. And peace is, I'm scaring you to death. Greg Sankey says, if you're not with us, you're against us, and we can do without you.
yeah, having a politician on your side, I don't know that that's necessarily such a good thing.
Look, at this point, I think certainly the Big 12 will take any help we can get.
Oh, sure, but
and
I mean,
think the ACC will too. But I mean that list is going to be short of options.
If a politician tells me something, I'm just going to automatically assume that they're lying or it's for a separate reason. And I think that's the case with, he's a Notre Dame grad. Of course, he's running out here and saying, we're going to stop the evil Big Ten and SEC. Well, what about the most evil one of all, Notre Dame? Notre Dame gets to maintain its special status as a snowflake in college football. He's not running out and saying that Notre Dame has to be stripped of that. He's a Notre Dame grad, so I mean, but
I think just bringing it into the public light is a help.
Yeah, I'm going to jump off here and let Fergie get on here, but I just wanted to say,
okay,
hey man, politics, break it down. Greek, poly for many, ticks for blood-sucking parasites.
That's perfect. I love it. Thank you, Moen. It's great to see you. All right. Moen is gone. Fergie, who has been very patient. Thank you so much, Fergie. It's good to see you back from your vacation. Joe Z says Smash Capital. That's the report from last week. Louisville, Florida State, Clemson +1. Who's the +1? So, do you know who was at that Smash Capital meeting last week?
I do not. Again, I'm thank you for having me. I'm getting back from, and I didn't quite have a vacation. I lost my mom. So
I apologize. I did not know that. I'm sorry.
I sent you a little message about that, but it's kind of why I've been away.
Wait. That was a while ago though, right? Didn't just happen.
It was, but it takes time to close things out. So
fair enough. No, you're right. I did know that, and I recognized it at the time. So
no problem. I don't know who's the +1. I use the term I'm catching up. I'm still trying to figure out what's happening in the world over the last few weeks. Moen absolutely nailed every single thing I was thinking about, except I want to put a kind of a bow on it, which is as a CU fan, I despise Notre Dame more than anyone. In 1989, 1990, we played them. It was some great games, but definitely some bad blood. But I'm going to be honest. I think the solution is Notre Dame to finally wrangle that loose string and bring them into what Moen was saying. The third league has to be created. It needs to have enough pressure from Congress, antitrust threat, your mark being his thing, getting the best brands to not go to the other leagues, to actually say you'd be a better entity by yourself. Why go join the Big Ten and be behind Ohio State and Michigan? Why go to the SEC and behind Alabama and Georgia?
Wait a second. Hold on. Let me interrupt you there. That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean behind?
Well, there's always a chance that the brands like a Florida State or a couple of other brands would have to kind of, you'd still somewhat get in line in the Big Ten or get in line in the SEC because the historic brands that they feel like they're entitled to own the league or to be the bigger brands. Now, I
Which is
agree
why
that
Notre Dame hasn't joined a conference. One of the many reasons.
agreed, but
Notre Dame hasn't joined a
if it meant giving Notre Dame a little bit of a unique top of the seat situation in a third league, whether it be the Big 12, the ACC, or a new league, I actually prefer possibly a new league that clarifies a good way to participate, a big level of investment. They have to get a streamer. Somehow a streamer, one of the biggest, baddest streamers needs to be, if Netflix or Prime stepped up to be the streamer, it would easily balance out the ESPN power play. And if you could leverage, like, there's a lot of leverage. Notre Dame, Florida State, Miami, Texas Tech's money guy, Coach Prime with us, BYU and its power, Kansas and Stanford. There's enough power to ultimately, if they all united and understood what Moen said was true. I mean, I hate to say, but it is true. Is there 8 to 10 brands in a variety of places that are at risk? Yes, unless the streamer or somebody agreed that, bringing enough of it together makes sense. But I'm kind of the opinion now. I see the options are narrowing. The timing is getting scary. And I would rather see someone take a big swing, take the Texas Tech money guy, get Prime Video, get Notre Dame. You've got your third league.
I don't disagree. I think I could easily take the best of the ACC and the Big 12 and make a conference that is almost one-to-one peer
Agreed.
to the others. The problem is, how do you get there? There's many steps to get there. Brett Yormark represents a conference, not a school. So I can't imagine he had any involvement in this clandestine meeting. He's trying to fight for a conference that, from a CFP standpoint, it's terminal.
I agree.
So the brands that you could put together in a combined league, and look, we have from the beginning not talked about this sort of hodgepodge piece together for one reason and one reason only, and that is because we wanted to advocate for everything Big 12, assuming Brett Yormark was doing something on the back end, because that's what he's known for, is making deals, right?
Yep.
He did that everywhere he's been. He's an expert. I mean, he is a subject matter expert. We relied on that. Then we got that quote from him saying, this vote wasn't for the Big 12. You might not have seen that last week. But he said, my vote for the changed 2025 CFP wasn't, maybe not for the best for the Big 12, but it was the best for college football.
Yeah.
And
I saw
that.
There's been a big comment about how it's not smart right this second to vote yes on 4422, because you're literally acknowledging you're a lesser than conference.
But it's already done. They already are. They have less voting interest. They're down 64, 65% ownership. They already are minority.
Agreed.
So why state what you already have? Why worry about it?
Like I said, we're in this weird moment of the train is almost at the end of the track.
Yes.
And things have to be decided. Votes are being taken. Future plans are being made.
Yes.
And if somebody's going to come in, whether it's the Texas Tech money guy, whether or not we have any power with Coach Prime, only because of his relationship with the streamers. He has great relationship with Netflix and Prime. And if ultimately everybody unanimously said, this isn't right, that we're trying to narrow a sport that's been so great for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And we just said, bring it together. Now, I don't know if ultimately there's 4, 5, or 6, sacrificial lambs that go to the Pac-12, and if the Pac-12 Mountain West. I actually am. I think, Bomber, I'm actually not really pro-conference anymore, because the conferences seem to be the center of the problem.
Right.
The Pac-12 did its thing. The Big 12 was almost dead and then came back alive. The Southwest is gone. The Big East is semi-gone. The Big Ten and the SEC are not acting civilly. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opinion. I know you've got your Super League.
Supra League, be very
Is
clear.
the idea that, and I agree with this, these are multi-billion-dollar institutions
Yeah.
that can stand on their 2 feet and actually probably run their own media companies, their own game day productions, their
Right.
own everything. We really don't need the conferences to muck it up or bring in Congress or bring in antitrust or act out of bad faith. So we're in a crazy moment. We're in a tough position now where everyone in the country has this terrible attitude that quote unquote a good deal is where you win every part of the deal. That's not what a deal is.
No, there is no deal that is a good deal. They're all moderation, right? They're all consolidation. They're all what's the word I'm looking for? Everybody loses in a good deal.
Agreed.
So otherwise, it's not a good deal because then everybody wouldn't get a little piece of what they want. Specifically, let's answer this question from Cody Walb. You're new around here, Cody. I hope you like what we're doing tonight. This is sort of an ad hoc bomber show, but I appreciate you being here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel though, and follow me and Fergie on Twitter if you could. How does Brett Yormark blow up the ACC? Both you and Moen have mentioned that. This is a question to the air. I already know the answer, but can you explain how there's any way that Brett Yormark has the leverage to blow up the ACC?
I think the leverage would be that he would come over the top with a better media deal, and they could do it like Texas, Oklahoma did. You could reach, say, 3 years into the future with agreements that smooth the exit fee of the ACC because the work has already been done. And you could essentially say that in 3 years, they'll easily have a bigger league and they can agree to come to the Big 12 or come to a new entity or do whatever, because the time is on their side now. The legal work was done. The exit fees have been negotiated and might even be negotiated more. And if Yormark, who's got a chance to be early again, could get, it's got to be a streamer. It's got to be someone with really deep pockets to just come over the top and deliver the blow. And the only thing that's troublesome, I don't love the idea of not getting the top brands. If they do sneak out to SEC or Big Ten, I don't think brands 5 through 8 are the same at all as brands 1 through 4. So he has to come up. Moen, who I hate to say this on the air, but Moen is really smart because he'll run with that, is the idea that brands 1 through 4 and Notre Dame are the kill shots. And so Yormark is in a position. I do trust the guy. I think everybody knows he's the best conference commissioner we've ever seen in old Big 12, old Big 8, or failed Pac-12. So I hope he has something sweet in mind. And I agree that UCF and Cincinnati and the Big 12 might have 2, 3, or 4. They're not weak brands. They're historic brands. But are they prepared to also join the plan? Like, I will someday want to sit with you and talk about the Kentucky privatization of their AD, because I do believe that has to happen someday, because the players are not going to be getting paychecks from the university bigger than a professor. I just still feel like that's icky.
We're talking about taking their athletic departments and making them LLCs essentially, and going out and running that money piece for the school.
Yeah, and that might be the way to have the exit fees. That might be the way to have the streamer would be the exit fees. That's just my opinion. That would be where the.
So let's read this comment here from Tom Dubay. If you don't mind sticking around a second, do you have a minute? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to post a link. If you want to join the show, I invite you to join the show. I will get you on, and we'll hear your opinion and talk whatever you want to talk about. But Tom Dubay's got a good comment here. Big 12 would have to take private capital money, pay ACC exit fees, and set up a new media company relationships. I just want to say that for over 2 years, this is stupid. I feel really stupid saying this. We're talking about ideas that we've literally talked about for 2 years. So
Yeah.
if you're new to the channel and you're hearing us asking these questions to the air, it's not because we don't already know the answers. It's that we like talking about the question with as many of you as possible. So all new subscribers, anybody who's following on X, this is stuff we in our minds have sorted years ago. So it's obvious the only way that the Big 12 could bring the top 3, 4, 5 brands to the Big 12 would be take private equity and pay it. There's no other way to do it, right? You get private equity, and then you have a media partner that's willing to subsidize you for X number of years so that you can pay the money out they require, pay the exit fees, and then move on.
Correct.
Right? And
But it doesn't,
that's
Bomber,
it.
it may not have to be pure private equity, because pure
Well,
private
no,
equity.
I'm saying the broadcasters would also
True,
have
the
to have media
broadcasters, a
partner.
different media situation, or a little bit of the idea I've always shared, which is the idea that you could internally, if you privatize your athletic department by itself from day one, all those athletic departments would have a valuation of half a billion to more. And so you could bring in not only private equity money, but all of us have boosters who are involved in private equity. So it could be more of a smoother capital, not a, kind of like the capital that goes together to buy a franchise in MLS or buys a franchise in NWSL. These are people who know each other, good businessmen, have a lot of money, want to invest in something they care about. Isn't pure private equity, because private equity has killed more businesses than at times it's helped, and we just wouldn't want to see something go sideways. But in some
private
form,
equity, let's be clear, and you just cleared this up, and maybe you mentioned I missed it, but private equity only takes a part of the profits, right? They're a shared partner for the overall money, but at the end of the day, they don't have an ownership stake in Utah. What they have an ownership stake is the profits and losses of the Big 12.
Whether they
Go ahead.
own, whether they have actual ownership or they have a contractual right to income, they can strangle an entity one way or another, because they do want to talk about optimization and profitability. So my point is, I don't necessarily want to see whether it was strangulating income or revenues or other methods. You'd want it to have more of a runway. That's why I'm saying you'd love to have capital that doesn't have an immediate, saying, most private equity wants a 5-year exit plan. And so whether you're going to have a big streamer or pool capital and then get them in and get them out, if you can make it work, great. If you could not use them and smooth it otherwise. If the schools, this is going to be a big moment in universities' history of saying to themselves, is my endowment worth the future of my front door? And should I step up and throw money from an endowment out into this investment? And that'll be the key question. But bottom line, and I'll get off the air so you can talk to someone else, is I hope something creative happens, and I hope a solution is found, because I don't like the feeling, the queasiness of season by season going into this uneven playing field. It's just a really sad moment. I feel like, Sneetches on the beaches. I don't like it. I want to have everybody feeling like the sport is back to something equal that we all enjoyed in the 80s and 90s.
That would be great. I appreciate it. It's great
All
to
right.
see you, Fergie. We
Yeah.
still need to do that show, brother.
Sounds great, Bomber. Take care.
Okay, we'll see you later. Thank you so much. Everybody that's joined the show, I want to thank you all very much for being here. Fergie, he and you know money and know how things work when it comes to that side. We have a show we just haven't had time to do yet. We've commitments and everything else. We will put that together in a recorded effort, but I want to thank Fergie coming on tonight. very much. Jason Spangler, it's great to see you, Jason. Another valuable member of the Mafia family. That's what that little S is next to his name. If you want to become a member really quick, I'm going to tell everybody, hit the $ down at the bottom of the, by the comment section. Become a new member of the college football Mafia family. I want to tell you, this is what you get for those efforts. Real quick, I'm going to dive into this. We've been doing editorial tonight. But really quick, let me bring the channel up. I will get to this comment, Jason. Where the hell is it? Actually, I'll read it and then I'll get back to it. All the schools currently in the Big 12 and ACC should know that their best future is in a successful conference outside of the Big 10 and SEC. Joining those conferences equals death. Appreciate it. Good to see you, Jason. Thank you so much. Yeah, they are in a tough pinch. Really quick, this is what membership gets you. Let's close that out. Membership gets you, that's us live right now. Gets you access to all these member videos. Miami, what are they going to do to exit or maybe not exit the ACC? The sit down, we're talking about the really Big Ten, what that looks like. SEC shoots down College Football Super League. That one might be a little out of date. We're going to need to go back and look at that one because obviously we have a new world that we're living in with the CFP and everything else. And it just goes on and on and on. These are what membership videos you get. I promise you, you'll get your value if you become a member. Plus, you get deferred to comments on our live shows. I appreciate everybody that's watching right now. Let's really quick get to this comment, and I really appreciate this. Rob Ellen, I was going to shout you out earlier, but the show went by quicker than I could do anything with. Valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. Would private capital want to cut the underperforming schools? So, as a stand, private equity, there's so many models, we can't talk about them. A month ago, Redbird Capital had been looked at and then sort of held in abeyance because there was nothing really to take action on. We come forward in time, Rob, and now we're at a point where the Big Ten and the SEC are thumbing their nose, and Notre Dame, thumbing their noses and basically saying, we like you but don't love you, to the ACC and the Big 12. And what that has caused is this structure to sort of fall apart. So would they, as a matter of course, request the Big 12 or the ACC to get rid of schools? I don't think they could do. Maybe they could make the demand. I don't know that they could execute that. Where it becomes huge is the Smash Capital report from last week that basically says some schools met secretly from the ACC and the Big 12 and Smash Capital. And if you're a school that you can't immediately imagine being in a conference of 16 to 20 that doesn't involve those brands that you don't immediately assume would be included, I don't know what else to tell you. You should be afraid. You absolutely should be concerned. I would call your congressman. I would call your AD. I would send messages on Twitter and emails. Get involved if you think you're a brand that isn't in that special relationship, third conference, third entity that isn't the Big Ten, the SEC, or Notre Dame. Absolutely should be afraid. And I don't know. There's no other way to put it. Get involved. Try to get an invite to that next meeting that they hold, because honestly, I don't see the ACC and the Big 12 getting together. I could be wrong. There's too many entangling things there. Unless Florida State and Clemson, Notre Dame, and North Carolina committed to a merge, I don't think the Big 12 and the ACC can merge in their current forms. A merged ACC and Big 12 that doesn't include Kansas, doesn't include North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State. Who am I missing? Miami, Kansas. I'm on the edge about whether I throw BYU in there. I think they have the money. They've shown they want to play the Sunday, not the religious stuff anymore, because BYU is paying money. I think it comes down to scheduling Sunday games kind of a hassle. And dealing with, I guess just the Saturday play would be the only concern at this point. Big 12 will pay their own freight. They've proven it now. But Kansas, I think, is a foregone conclusion. Absolutely too big a brand to leave out. There's others. TCU, ASU's stepped up. If you weren't in the room for that meeting, I don't know what to tell you. If BYU wasn't in there, and BYU's been in a little turmoil recently, I'm a little concerned. I admit, I'm a little concerned about that. All right, let's get to some more comments. Shooter TX, good to see you. First, this was one before. Does ESPN truly believe that all of the Pitt, Wake, Oklahoma State I would put with Kansas. UCF fans will switch over and watch SEC and Big Ten games when their team is out? No, this is a Baylor fan, by the way. Booster Shooter TX. I didn't say that at the beginning. Great to see you, Shooter. I apologize for not calling that Baylor out at the beginning. I wanted to get to your comment. No, they will watch the NFL and wait for men's basketball. Boy, 10 years ago, I would have said that is absolutely an impossibility. I think it's already started to happen. I do. I believe with the A4, I think it's already started to happen. I mean, your next comment, Shooter, I would prefer the creation of a new entity, which I'm talking about, and extend invites to the top 60 teams across the nation. My number has been 60, 61 with Notre Dame, forever. 3 conferences, Big Ten, SEC, and a 20-team third league. I would love that league to be the Big 12. I'm struggling to picture that right this second. Create a bracket system like the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball, NHL. Sorry, I'm running everything together there. Shooter TX, you're exactly right. They create 60 teams, but it's very easy to jump that to 72. Right? I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's just brutal. These laced comments. Let's see if I can get to some more. That Stormy Cyclone checking in. Hope you haven't. I haven't lost you, Stormy. Sorry, I'm trying to get through. There's almost 400 people watching right now, so I'm trying to get into as many as I can. Thank you so much for that. Stormy's a longtime OG member of the College Football Mafia family. This is such a mess. Not only is the toothpaste out of the tube, the bathroom is trashed. And Fox Kindaro had one of the best quotes comments I've seen on Twitter in a very long time. I apologize, Vox. I can't get to it. If I find it, I'll retweet it because I loved it. But Vox says Sankey is intimidated by Hobart and gets defensive about him. I think maybe that's jealousy. Maybe he knows Britt Ormark's better than he is. That's possible. But look, Sankey can say whatever he says, and there's no downside. So let's start to wrap this up. I mean, we're 2 hours in. I'm probably going to go past 2 hours. Sorry, Moen. I want to get to as many comments as I can tonight. So I'm going to say it's last call. I'm going to go a half hour longer. Okay, everybody. So last call for comments. If you want to get your comment read, I've got too many marked. It's going to have to be a super chat. Just so you know, I've deferred to mostly member comments here out. If you're watching on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. You can do both at the same time. You know, you can chew gum and walk. Go over to the College Football Mafia family or College Football Mafia Network on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment or question. And then consider becoming a member. Your membership, I guarantee you, will pay you back in spades. All right. Let's get to some more comments. I'm trying to get to as many that Jansen Roberts had some really good ones. I'm going to get to all three of these in order. Jansen, good to have you here. I hope you've subscribed. Thank you so much for being here. Replying to Jay Chapman, who's an SEC guy. Sankey tried to get the SCAC presidents on board last year on the 9 conference game schedule and it was voted down. That's I guess he's saying the ESPN, right, Jansen? I hope I'm saying that right. Anyways, yeah, unless they have a guaranteed spot in the CFP, they're not going to do the 9-team thing. And he's given himself permission to not do that. He's declared a reason. Jensen again says, unfortunately, the commissioner works for the university presidents. He can lead the horses to water, but he can't make them drink. Wisdom from Jansen. Yes, ESPN at the time said no to giving more money. Strange how 1 year has changed the narrative from ESPN. Recent reports say ESPN is now ready to pay for the SEC 9th game. Thank you for all 3 of those comments, Jansen. I appreciate it. You're new around here, so I wanted to give you some time. Thank you so much. There's a new viewer, certainly. I hope he's a subscriber. It's a great name. Extra Ecclesiasm Nulia Salis. All right. I need holy crap. A Latin expert, tell me what that means in the comment section, please. What does that mean? Extra Ecclesiasm Ecclesium Nulla Salis. Just boycott the SEC and Big 12 games. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that's a question. I don't know. I mean, that's a way to fight back. I'm not sure it's a solution. EENS. Somebody tell me what that means, please. Rock and Rant joins the show. Good to see you, Rock. Appreciate you so much for all you do for us and around the College Football Mafia family, network of family. And I want to tell everybody to subscribe to the College Football Express on YouTube. Tune in. That is Rock and Rant. That is my friend Flo. Join the show and certainly have charted their own channel on YouTube. Subscribe to the College Football Express. Great guys. They do good stuff. Might not be safe, Carla, to be honest. I'm not sure who's replying to. These are obviously, okay. So Carla says, Rock and Rant, are you sure you want to consume that ripple? I'm obviously taking that out of context. I apologize, guys. But thank you, Carla. It's great to see you, by the way. And obviously, Rock and Rant, it's great to see you. I'm going to do the second one. Rock and Rant says, and yes, Tempest, some blue tears, cheese. Again, those are all replies to, I apologize. I don't know what those mean. They're not in context. I took them out of context, guys. I'm sorry. Justin Art, hey, by the way, here's the link. If you want to join me, Rock, come on, explain some of your comments. I'd love to chat with you for a second. Justin Ard, USF fan, somebody represents the AAC well, and I think is doing great work for the USF Bulls. Bomber, you didn't read my super chat on the show last Friday. I know I didn't, and that came at the very end, Justin. I do blame myself because I did submit it right at the end of the show. Tell me what that was again, and I'll do it right now, Justin. I'm live on comments. Post it. I will talk about it. I did in the after show. There was no after show for you guys, but with my guys, I was like, oh, crap. Moen told me he would cover it. I don't know if he did or not, but I will do it again. So give it to me, and I'll read it. I promise, and I apologize. Jason Spangler, $2 super chat, also a member of the College Football Mafia family. Hashtag Kansas Baseball, number 2 seed in the Fayetteville pod. That's baseball. The Big 12 did not get any region games. They absolutely got screwed. Big 12 did. Some good teams in the Big 12. And they're traveling. So good luck to Kansas baseball. Absolutely good luck on that. I'm going to get to more comments here. So Justin, I'm going to bring that up again. Give me your comment from last Friday. I'll read it right now. Let's see here. Jonathan Anderson, a recent member. Thank you so much for being a member, Jonathan. I hope you've checked out some of our member videos. Dang, my notifications didn't go off. Watching from the beginning once the live feed is over. Sorry about that, Jonathan. Make sure if you are subscribed, hit that little bell button. It'll tell you when the shows are coming up. So I appreciate you, Jonathan. I hope you can see this eventually. Let's see. $2 super chat. Did I read that? I didn't. Yeah, I did. $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate you for that. Let's see here. I like getting to new people if I possibly can. You guys are awesome. Look at all these great comments. Me versus Echo Chamber popped in. Did they win? He's talking about Kansas. This is the one I was trying to read from him. At the College Football Mafia, great convo. Like, it seems like a losing battle no matter what, and I'm assuming he's meaning the ACC, Big Ten, and G6 do. Sorry, not Big Ten, Big 12 do. Unfortunately, we are at the mercy of the P2 and their daddies, ESPN and Fox. We haven't talked about the broadcasters very much right here because I think this has a lot more to do with the conferences than the broadcasters. The SEC is driving the bus. Secret Agent checking in saying, "What's up, Bomber?" I said hi in the comments. I hope you saw that. Me versus Echo Chamber said hi to everybody earlier. I'm working backwards. I already said this one, but a good deal from Stephen Vitt is a mutual understanding between all parties that equally benefits everyone. What we've seen the last few decades don't include any good deals, just power grabs and ego trips. Yeah. Yeah, that's money. That's dead on money. Let's see here. Shonsky says, no, this isn't what college football is about. I don't disagree, Shonsky. I do not disagree. It's just, but what's the alternative? Can anybody tell me what the alternative is? Moen has explained what could be better, right? I don't know what else. I just don't know what the alternative is. There are alternatives out there. We've talked about them. I've got a PowerPoint somewhere that shows what I think would be best. And I am not sure where I put that. I would show it if I could find it. Oh, yeah. So this was my idea. Let me present this. A long time ago, I showed this, and I'm not sure who saw it, but how do I do this right here? Fit to window? No, that's not it. Where's my view? Why am I not seeing it? Here it is. I don't want to do that. All right. Give me back. I don't want that. We got to go back. Okay. I found it. I had to drag it out here. All right, here we go. This was my idea. And other people have great ideas out there. But since we made it this far, I might as well go through it. I do believe that you can have a super league for football without don't flip out. This is just a follow-up on an idea I've had a long time ago. Been working on a long time. One idea would be to have a private equity or some third party come in and basically say, we're going to put all the best brands together with a lot of money, because the SEC and the Big 12 schools do not lose a dime because they wouldn't participate unless they got the same amount of money. The more I think about this, the less chance it's going to happen because Greg Sankey has shot across the bow. Let me finish this. Anywhere from 40 to 72 schools. I do not believe the current SEC and Big 10 could do it on their own. They need more schools. The minimum I have is 40 schools. Private equity makes up the difference with the schools that are included, that are the brands. And let's start talking about who is participating. The brands are participating, everybody. It's the brands driving the engine, not the conferences in this idea. So these are all my notes. Playoff format, which is another Greg Sankey, whoever proposed that SEC, the thing Josh Pate talked about yesterday, the 16 teams, but you have these multiple brackets, and that was such a mess. I'm not going to give it any time except to say I saw it on Josh Pate. So I think straight seeding 1 to 16 works. The auto bids, I'm okay with getting rid of if we clean up how the teams are picked. and then the money is all shared. Schools themselves or the host conference get the money. Governance, this is a different conversation, but I think governance drives the bus as far as it goes to control. And we don't need to get into the rest of that. I think there are options. We've talked about options tonight. You guys have had some amazing comments and ideas. One last time, I'm going to post a comment. Anybody wants to join the show, give me a comment we haven't talked about. I'm happy to do it. I'm going to work backward for new people. Brian Pearson on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, man. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing. Big Ten Commission came up with the AQ in playoffs, I believe. So the Big Ten, yeah, that would have been, what was his name? The guy that went to the Bears. I can't remember his name. He's the one who came up with the AQs, the 1 to 5, CFP, and all that fun. The difference is, what's the difference now, everybody? What's the difference now? It's not the Big Ten and the SEC. It's not how much attention Greg Sankey wants to take on himself for the SEC. It's Notre Dame. Notre Dame is the real definer in all of this. The only way this gets fixed is if Notre Dame, in some way, shape, or form, loses their preferential treatment in the CFP. I'm going to give credit to Rob Ellen, says Warren and Kevin Warren from Justin R. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. That's the only way I can see anything. Everything else is marginal. Every single other choice is marginal. Almighty Fins, great to see you. Thank you so much, Almighty Fins. Great to have you around. I know you are an OG. If you're not a current member right now, it doesn't matter, man. You're on my whiteboard. No love for Wazoo. They just left them like the baby deer in the woods to be eaten. Brett Yormark, by the wolves. No love for Wazoo. So that's an ASU fan saying he's not an ASU fan or Wazoo fan. I am. So, yeah. Okay, Rock and Rant just got off his own show. How we doing tonight, Rock?
How you doing? I'm trying. As you, I heard my name invoked as I'm walking my dog, so I figured I'd jump on and encourage somebody else to come on and kick my ass off, so you can talk to somebody fresh for a change.
No, I needed the help. Thank you very much. It's very timely, and of course, I think that it's such a scrabble, where we're going to end up with all this stuff. But I mean, what are your thoughts? What does I'm going to say Brett Yormark, and when I say that, I also mean Jim Phillips. What can they possibly do to fight back?
That's the interesting question to me, really, right? Ultimately, is we know that, it's been widely reported, right, that the Big Ten and the SEC have the votes to do whatever they want in the future playoff. Period. Full stop. End of story. But with quote unquote meaningful consultation with everybody else. So it's either all of this is just optics for our off-season dramedy Netflix series that we didn't have to pay for. Right. And those commissioners are just doing a fight because the resistance, they are hoping they'll create a groundswell of political pressure to potentially at least mitigate or navigate things differently. Maybe 100%. There really is political pressure, or maybe the SEC and Big Ten are playing the role of other people we've seen on a possible lawsuit of wondering if they really didn't meaningfully consult and they could get a nuisance or valid lawsuit ultimately if everybody's going to the mattresses, to use a mafia analogy for the college football mafia.
Thank you for doing that. I always love that. I think the political pressure exactly where this is at. I think what Sankey is doing is screaming fire in a theater, trying to see, really how much fight back are they going to receive? The moment I saw the notification about the capitulance of Brett Yormark last week, I immediately put out a tweet saying, the Big 12 and ACC basically need to go to war. They need to do everything they can politically. They need to do everything they can voting, whatever they can. They need to go to war to offset this thing, and that means, in my opinion, politics.
Yeah, and the comment that you missed when you were going backwards, trying to navigate the show plus 400
Right.
people,
Right.
which I know how hard that is, was I basically said, hey, I'm going to go to the SEC winery, spelled with the wine, complaining,
Right.
did you guys want a bottle? So that's what the little back and forth you missed was. But that's the interesting thing is like, man, for a conference that's got so much going for it, damn, do they cry like babies sometimes? And I don't really get it, right? You are the most powerful conference. Nobody doubts that your football supremacy is there. You might not have been the best year you've ever had. Basketball is killing it. Why does everybody have to just throw, oh, we can't understand why South Carolina, Alabama, and Ole Miss didn't make it. I can tell you why, because Alabama got their ass handed to them by Oklahoma late in the season by a team that sucked.
Don't
right?
lose to Vanderbilt.
Ole Miss lost at the end of the year to a team they shouldn't have missed. And the whole thing about strength of schedule is 100% valid. They should do more strength of schedule in the tournament, whichever way it is, right?
Agreed.
But Alabama got considered. They moved up with more losses. They moved up beating Mercer when other schools won close tight games in P4 games that week.
All three of those teams bypassed BYU.
So I don't really get it. Like, if Indiana had, lost one more game, they would have been usurped by a three-loss Alabama team, or Ole Miss, or South Carolina. South Carolina was probably the best team. So I don't get, like, they have all the power, but sometimes they act like they're a victim, and I don't really get it. And I know there's gonna be some SEC people in here saying you're just hating, and I am, but it's hate with truth behind it. I just don't get it. You guys have so much going for you. You have some of the best brands in football. Even though if I was Greg Sankey, I might have reacted that way if I felt like I got dunked on by Big 12 and ACC putting themselves on a pedestal, a high horse, right? I'm putting themselves on a pedestal to be like the first two, commissioners in a decade that cared about college football's best interests.
Right.
Strange timing on that, Jim and Brett, by the way. A little late to the race there. So I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot of noise unless there's something going on in the background, and the political stuff can really come true. And count me as skeptical that can happen, because I don't believe that politics was going to do anything before this issue came up, right? So I don't know how people are going to, just grab off of what just happened, the statements about the playoff, and fundamentally change something that has not been able to move through legislation or presidential commissions or whatnot. So I don't know. I kind of don't understand it. I mean, it's interesting and fun as hell to watch when you're waiting for the season to start.
Right.
It might also be demoralizing depending upon where you're sitting watching.
Yes. Yep.
But I wish I had like a really smart answer. I just have smart ass answers for it.
The timing. The timing is suspect, right? Everything in the last 2 weeks has been targeted. Every single announcement that's come up that's either been at the conference or national level has been targeted. The Big Ten saying 4-4-2-2-1-3 looks good to us. Then the report that, we like it, 16 teams, but it's this monstrosity of a bracket, right?
Right.
And then the Big Ten says, cool, we can work with that. Then Brett Yormark, out of nowhere, by the way, we haven't seen Brett for months since basketball ended. Out of nowhere, he has this, this "we believe" mantra, and in doing so, and you just said it, but the Big 12 and Jim Phillips almost word for word did the same thing. They made themselves targets without leverage, and while that might have been strategic in their minds, they had a big war room session, and they decided this is the PR way they were going to go. Is we're just part of the team. We just want to be involved. It had the opposite effect, and in essence, Brett Sankey, or whatever Sankey's first name is, says, well, that's all well and good. You guys feel like you're doing for the better of college football. That is meaning that I'm not, right? And Greg Sankey's not going to do that. And the announcement of that timing after those other couple things, plus the House settlement's not done. We haven't even touched on that.
Right. Well, bullies don't like to get bullied, right? As a thing.
Right.
But I don't know
how do you fight
knock
back
that bully
against the
down.
bully? How do you fight
Well,
against a bully? You punch him in the face, right?
You do. The thing that I think is interesting, I don't know if it means anything, is that the Southeastern Conference hasn't rejected the whole 5 automatic qualifiers, 11 at-larges, and that Brett McMurphy post saying that, as a lot of us have said for a while, that on average the Big Ten and SEC would get more than 4 per year if the model was put into place. It doesn't give them the certainty to do the play-ins that they might want to do, but they would, on average, in a 16-team, conference. And maybe if the SEC, like, I would bet on myself, possibly, but that would be interesting because then you'd sit there and assume that there's some sort of break in the gentleman's, I use that word loosely, handshake agreement, collusion, whatever you want to call it, between the Big Ten and the SEC. And I say this, as I've always said, like, I say this whether Miami was going into the Big Ten or is never going to the Big Ten. Like, I think what I think, regardless of that aspect of it, because I have no idea what will or won't happen either way, but I know I won't change my opinion the day after whichever way it goes is finalized.
So this is the last question, and then you can stick around if you want. I love having you on. But this is the last pointed question I'll ask you. What's the percent chance that really all of this is null and void? None of it matters. It's all for pageantry. It's all for show. And 2026 is where Brett Yormark, and maybe Jim Phillips, but I doubt Jim Phillips. Brett Yormark has a secret deal 2026 that actually offsets all of this damage. Is there even is it a non-zero chance?
I mean, I've lived in America in the last decade. There's never non-zero chance of nothing at this point. But I don't think there's some massive, 8D galactic chess going on that somehow Big 12 and Brett's going to wind up on top and Jim Phillips is going to go into a monastery.
Yeah.
I think that odds are that you gave those two conferences the power. They will try to use it, whether they meaningfully consulted with you or not. And if I were to guess on everything, I'd love the 5 AQs and 11. I think we're getting 4, 4, 2, 2, 1, 3, whatever it is. Like, that's what I think we're getting. And, the Big Ten and the SEC will roll the dice that they can get as many of those additional 3 AQs as it's all said and done. I don't believe that some grand solution is coming, because this is like the tale of a series of bad and fateful decisions all coming to roost for the last decade.
Did you happen to catch my interview with Bob Thompson last week?
I caught part of it, but I didn't see the whole thing.
What stood out to me is what he didn't say. He didn't talk about media numbers. He didn't talk about anything, not even a shred of realignment. It's what he didn't say that was remarkable. He had some really thoughtful answers, and I encourage everybody to watch it. I don't think it's a members only video. After we're done live, go to the College Football Mafia page on YouTube and just hit the live tab on the menu, and Bob Thompson's interview will be right there. And I've interviewed him now. Everybody knows, many, many times. I think that he knows that at this point, the broadcasters are just going to take the best option they can. And I think all of us have been assigning that. This is my opinion. I think all of us have been assigning values, certainly the Big Ten and the SEC, that they look in the air and they say, why would we do that? Why change anything why literally bring on any more schools if we absolutely don't have to? You're muted if you're talking, Rob. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think they'll bring on some schools because I think there's still upside to be had, and to appease, network platforms, advertisers. But They may not have to, right? They might not have to when it's all said and done. There's no one with a proverbial gun to their head forcing them to do something.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it'd be surprising if there's not more moves. It just might be 5 years from now, and it may not be as big as people think ultimately. But I think we'll just have to see. Really, it's the wonderful world of the off season and speculation that
Right.
has been dragging on for a few years, and like it's trending towards being like the longest running series in sports history on the business side.
I could not agree with you more. And when you have guys like Bob Thompson that are absolutely stunned by some of these moves, and he has in the past been surprised, that tells me that the dealings and double and triple and quadruple dealings on a day-to-day basis may change. I think what was driving media dollars 3 years ago, in my stupid opinion, believe that money is gone. The big numbers that are going to go to a Big Ten as it's set, or an SEC as it's set, I don't think we're going to see these giant jumps like we've had in the past, 30, 40, 60% more value every year. I think the economy still sucks. Interest rates are fake low. There's people out of work everywhere. And I just don't see how. I don't see the why.
You and I will probably never actually agree on this point. There's only been one down deal in professional college sports history that wasn't like because your conference imploded. They may not get a 30% bump in year one, but over a 5 or 6 year deal, there'll still be upside, even just dealing with inflation. And in a world where we're getting people to watch the same thing at the same time, there's only so much inventory, and good, bad, or indifferent, you just look at the NBA ratings. There are 2 sports that deliver that in the United States, and one's the NFL, and it's like 1 and 1A and 1C, and then it's college football, and in college football, it's the Big Ten and the SEC. So we shall see.
The House settlement and the fallout from the House settlement is, I think, gonna change the pieces. Going to change the pieces on the board.
The pieces are always changing on the board. That would be my only pushback.
And
they don't have.
Not really pushback.
They don't have to do this, and they don't have to decide this before the House settlement, right? They could decide this in 2030, 2029.
Right? No, yeah, no. Today was just a mad guy at a podium.
It was a mad guy mad at 2 madder but less empowered guys.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think we're sort of stuck with what we've got now. Like you said, it's the changes that are going to be happening. We want to be monumental. I think, in my opinion, they're going to be smaller than people accept. But
totally fair. Well, I'm going to jump. So
okay, thanks for hopping on.
This.
I'm going to
Hope
post
everyone's well out there.
I'm going to post your Twitter feed from today, so everybody can go to that when the show's over. Make sure you subscribe to that channel.
I had some fun with some of the SEC guys today too online. So
okay, I'll check it out. You bet. We'll see you later, Rock. Thank you.
Be good. Bye.
Okay, Rock and Rant out the door. College Football Express on YouTube. Check them out. It's a new channel. Probably haven't heard of it, but they're doing the work and doing a lot of good stuff. So we appreciate them, and don't want to take that for granted. We could beat this up for another hour. We don't need to. I think everybody knows kind of where we're at. The purpose of this show was sort of to just settle everybody down a little bit and just say yesterday, actually the last 2 weeks have not been great. We'll say that out loud. Not been great unless you're Notre Dame or the P2. And I just encourage everybody to get involved. That's all I'm going to say. Just get involved. Be part of the conversation. And if you care a lot, become an activist. That's what I've chosen to do. And I'm unabashed. I'm going to conflict with people all the time. But I'm an active guy, and I'm not just going to sit back and not do something about it. And I encourage everybody else to do that. You guys are the smartest people on YouTube. And now I'm broadcasting on X Live. I'm going to do a last call. If you want your comment to be read, make it a super chat. I'll grab it really quick. I appreciate everybody that's watched tonight. If you're on X, do me a favor and jump over to Twitter, or sorry, to YouTube. Let me take a picture of our. This is our page. I'll just put it there. Makes it easy on it. If you're watching on X, just click on that. It'll take you right to my my YouTube page. I have a wonderful team around me, and we do good work, high quality work. And I want to encourage everybody to subscribe. It's been fun for me to vent a little bit. I hope you feel vented, because that was the purpose of this show. And let's just keep at it. I'm going to let you guys know I'm going to do a consigliere show coming up with one of my legal team, and that I call my friends, that will come on and we'll sort of iron out house in a shorter video. So look forward to that coming out. And then on Friday, we have a big freaking Friday show. That's me, Wild Ute, and Moen. And check us out. That'll be a lot of fun. Friday evening. I believe that show's still at 7 p.m. Eastern time, at least for this last week. And I sure appreciate you. When I get up in the morning, I hope I'm doing work for you guys. I really, really try. I make errors. We make mistakes. But, we're here for you and you only, not for our own gratification. I don't care how many DMs you send me about my ego or what we do around here. Everything we do is not, we try to be not self-serving. We try to be serving you guys' needs and wants. I appreciate everybody having a great evening. Let's continue to fight the good fight. And I will look forward to seeing you again. Maybe it's a live show tomorrow, Thursday, but for right now, we're going to check out Go Big 12, Go BYU, certainly. And then if you're not in the P2, go fight for the college football playoff, because if you don't, it will be taken away from you. Appreciate it. Everybody have a great night. Peace out.